special meeting with a public announcement. City clerk, do you make a public announcement about this?
Chair, I'd be happy to read the announcement that was published.
Do we need to?
It's up to the council. Councils in the past have had us read it. It's not required, though.
Well, let's go ahead and we'll read it.
Okay. Notice is hereby given that a special meeting and work session of the Laramie City Council will be held Tuesday, May 26, 2026 at 6:00 p.m. located at the Municipal Operations Center, 4373 North 3rd Street, Laramie, Wyoming 82070 for the following purpose. Special meeting, public comment on non-agenda related items. Number 2, budget amendments for fiscal year 27. And number 3, adjourn special meeting. The work session is fee for service agreements. Number 2, city council updates and council comments. And number 3, agenda review. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, City Clerk. Next, is there any comment on non-agenda items? Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, Pastor Millen will give you a mic and you are DJ McKee? Matt, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is DJ Mackey. I'm a resident of Laramie and La Barbara at 7220. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here to bring attention to the operating hours of the Recreation Center. The Laramie Rec Center, its intended purpose was to serve the entire community. It's only serving a fraction of patrons and not the community as a whole. I would prefer to purchase a membership at the Rec Center, and many others I've spoken with feel the same. In preparation for this meeting, I had several clients about their workout hours. Many currently use other gyms so that they would work out at the rec, or strongly consider its hours were more accommodating. The current closing time of 8 p.m. places working Americans very time constrained and forces them to conform their schedules around the center, including imposing a financial bind. Healthcare workers, retail employees, restaurant staff, and others with irregular hours may not benefit from early openings, but they can benefit from late night access at work. Many recreation centers see peak attendance between 5 and 9 p.m., cited for Norfolk and crunch time. Most people get off work at 5 or 6 and cannot make it to the gym until 7 or later. By this time, the aquatic center is closed. By this time, no use of the lap pool, regular pool, steam room, or the sauna. Staying open later supports demand, especially when courts, gyms, pools, and fitness areas are busiest, contrary to what is happening. Being at 7220, we have won Best Barbershop for 2 consecutive years. That award is decided by community voting, and we do not promote or ask clients to vote for us. The community chose us on its own. I know firsthand when the community prefers to get haircuts, and that time is usually at 7 and later. Those are my first appointments to be filled because people cannot get off work earlier or find another time that works for them. Laramie is a very young town, having 15 to 17 public schools, 2 private, and 2 colleges. Summer is approaching, and many young people soon will have more free time. What are they supposed to do after 8? The sun is even down. Instead of a few limited options at night that we currently have, they could be swimming, playing basketball, or lifting. Extending operating hours is also a fiscally responsible way to maximize the city's existing investment. Most operating costs already exist regardless of closing time. So staying open later increases access during peak evening demand. This can lead to higher participation, stronger membership retention, and increased revenue through programs, events, and facility use. While earlier closure may reduce short-term staffing costs, they can also reduce overall usage and long-term financial. I feel as if to speak about a problem with no solution is foolish. I propose keeping the rec center open until 10, the aquatics closing at 9. Instead of hiring more employees, the city could adjust the cleaning shift from 1 to 3 o'clock and apply those hours towards later evening operations, and this would allow more Laramie residents to relax and utilize such a great facility. I urge the City Council to act thoughtfully and in the best interest of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. And DJ, thank you for your comments. And then we can kind of investigate, well, what does that mean, how, so we can kind of bring that forward.
I apologize. Someone on the phone. I didn't email, so I apologize, but I can email them.
And feel free to email us if you want more of a dialogue. Yeah.
That's on your website, correct?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
And I thought your comments were well put together and good. Thank you. Is there any other public comment on agenda item? Right. Seeing none, I'll move on to Councilor Authority. Proposed amendment to the recommended budget. Oh, sorry.
I move to add 6,000 in appropriation fiscal year 2027 to improve the quality of broadcast for public meetings held in fiscal operation.
I'll second that. Mayor, do we need to vote?
Oh, I think we do. It wasn't on the city clerk before we vote.
Bowling,
Here.
Creed,
Here.
Lockhart,
Here.
Newman,
Here.
O'Doherty, Shumway, absent, Vigil,
Here.
Richardson,
Here.
Cumby.
Here.
That's 8 present and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, city clerk. Yes, Councilor, if you could go ahead and read the motion.
I move to add $6,000 in appropriations to fiscal year 2027 for the quality of broadcast for public meetings held at the municipal operation.
Still second.
I have a motion from Authority and a second from Director Wade. Do you have anything to say on this?
No, Mayor, I do not. We would just recommend the council approves that it come from available cash reserves.
Are there any questions or comments? Councilor Newman?
Mayor, so Councilmember Newman, we visited a little bit with the IT Director Rhodes, and there are some improvements installed that I don't think we're fully taking advantage of. There was a little bit of back and forth regarding that. And so where we said whatever improvements we make have to actually achieve the goal of the public broadcast being better and easier to view and listen to. So we didn't talk so much about the specifics, like the how about the work, it was more about the outcome. And specifically the ability for our folks who manage the broadcast to be able to do so once we fall. I don't know, so the city clerk can maybe add a little more there.
So thank you, Mayor. Our broadcast folks did suggest some camera equipment that can be run from the same switchboard that they have in the control room back at City Hall. But we'd have to work on that with IT a little bit, see what the exact cost of it is, and kind of work, see if that's the most, the best solution for this space.
Councilor Authority?
And I talked to the folks from 24/7 who run our broadcast, and we also have a setup great function. And so Chris thought that there would be well within what he knows how to do. It's just whether we have to make sure it meshes with our IT department. Have a new piece of equipment coming out soon, right? And something caster.
The TriCaster, Mayor and Council, were in your current budget for $50,000 to replace a piece of equipment that's dated in the broadcast room. So,
Are there any questions or comments? Oh, Director Lee?
Thank you, Mayor. I do just want to counsel that the IT director roads that believe that $6,000 would be enough to do whatever needed to be done to improve the quality of that broadcast. And so we very much need to bring light on that figure. And then if we get into it and it becomes a thing, we'll come back to you. Recommend this amount more money, but it's going to be a rather small investment for what I think will be a big improvement in quality.
Thank you, Director. Any further questions or comments? Councilor Free?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a comment. I think this is something that we've heard from a few members of the public for a little while, and so grateful for the amendment for those that have worked on it, staff. That would be great.
Thank you. City Clerk, if you can call the roll, please. Oh, is there any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, City Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Bowling,
Aye.
Freed,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Shumway, absent, Behill,
Yes.
Richardson, Cumby.
Yes.
That's 8 yeses, 0 nos, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Councilor O'Doherty, would you like to adjourn this, make a motion to adjourn this?
Okay, so I'm going to say
To adjourn the special meeting.
Councilor O'Doherty was suggesting just confirming the vote. Mayor.
That motion was. I move we adjourn this work session. I have a motion from O'Doherty and a second from all in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned from the special meeting and we are going to begin work session. And before we begin work session, I had discussion for council. Last week, there were 4 people out, and it was a little tight. And I'm not giving a hard time to anybody, but what we didn't have, we've gotten a little bit on giving written notice to Nancy, myself included. And so if we could tighten it up a little bit, that really helps the process. And if you know prior to an hour or 2 before the meeting, you could do it earlier rather than later. I think it would be helpful. And then Nancy puts all of those messages into a folder so that if there's any question or something she needs to review, it's there. So just a reminder to everybody, including myself, to send Nancy an email. And when you know you're going to be absent, if you could go ahead and send that as far in advance, and it would help us better with planning. Thank you very much. And without, is there any comment or anything like that on? Okay. City Manager, you would like to begin our work session on fee-for-service agreements. The first session is the fee-for-service contract with Laramie Main Street Alliance.
Mayor and Council, I think it's important to note that these are just extensions of what's been going on with the city of Laramie and our service organizations for many, many years. There's not a lot of changes in most of these. I think we'll just go through the work session and ask questions. That will turn it over to traditional.
Good evening, Tracy Sherwood. Nice to see you.
It was nice to see you as well. I kind of appreciate this format. I feel like it's a lot easier to see your beautiful face than to see if you have any questions. And I would love this to be, as conversational as you would like. At any point, the slideshow that I prepared is a shortened version of our annual report, and I just take out a few projects to highlight. But if there's something that I don't address, please let me know, and I go into more detail. I will give you at a later time. But first and foremost, wanted to start with a very deep thank you from myself, my board, my staff, and volunteers. I want to recognize that our incoming board chair, Jenny Hendrick, the audience. Thank you, Jenny, for your time. We are an organization that's run with deep passion and commitment by our volunteers, and we have an incredible group of people who are willing to roll up their sleeves and work for the betterment of our downtown community. But that could be possible without your support. So the city of Laramie has walked alongside us as a nonprofit for the last 20 years, and it could not be a more productive working relationship. I just wanted to give thanks to those who sometimes don't want the attention of the limelight, but we'll say broadly, the city manager's office has been incredible for us. Anytime we are troubleshooting or thinking about brand new ideas, everyone in the office is so responsive to our queries. The team that we have in the planning department and community development department are also just incredible collaborators, and our staff really enjoyed sharing office space with them this spring as we were gathering public input on the Fort Laramie plan. That was really great to go in the office every day and be like, what does the ordinance say about this? Can we do this differently? And just have them all to ourselves, a few hours every day. It was wonderful. Also want to thank the Laramie Police Department. They are wonderful community when we're thinking about public safety downtown or communication, and making sure that downtown is a place that everyone feels comfortable investing in something else. So thank you all. And I know I forgot, but again, I love this job. I love this work. It's 16 years, and there would be no success downtown without this partnership. Thank you so much. So for those who may not be aware, so we are a nonprofit, 501c3. Our services are free to every business and property owner in the district, roughly 28 blocks and 300 locally owned businesses. We utilize the Main Street America approach, and we focus on these 4 things to make sure that we have a holistic strategy to revitalize and support our downtown. Our design,
everything beautiful. It's how downtown looks and feels. It's everything from the lighting, again, going back to safety, the condition of our sidewalks, which we know need a little love, to the banners and the public art and the preservation of our historic storefronts. So we want downtown to be a place where when people are coming down to look at the beautiful lights that Tough Guys has helped us install on 3rd Street, they're just like, man, I feel comfortable here. I want to spend time. I want to wander. And I want to build community in this place that feels and looks really good. Then our marketing and promotion is so much more than events. Anybody who knows me knows I am horrible at remembering to order porta potties and not an event planner. But thankfully I have volunteers and staff members who are really good at that part of it. But we like to create opportunities to come downtown and make memories. So whether that's through a campaign to get to know our business owners or through the farmers market where you come and get your produce and catch up with friends you haven't seen in a while. We want to lay that groundwork for community to come and feel a sense of ownership in the district. And then our org committee is sort of like our human resources. Since we are a small but mighty group, our org team thinks about how we can partner with other entities in the community, fundraising to cover our expenses and help us make those investments, not just solo by ourselves, but with engagement from the broader community. And then the Downtown Development Authority, on paper, they play the role of our Economic Vitality Committee, thinking about support for our small businesses. If somebody's coming downtown wanting to open up shop, that there's a support system for them. I'm also not great at technology, besides really work, anybody. Thank you. Did that go? Yeah. So I wanted to highlight some examples of design projects that we have done downtown. This is a accumulation of stats, not just from last year, but from relaunching the program in 2023, our facade grant program. We've awarded 27 grants worth $56,000, and this is in support of exterior improvements. So our philosophy is we're reinvesting funds that benefit not only the business owner, the property owner, but they're things the public gets to enjoy and are public facing. This program requires a match, and so it's resulted in $300,000 of private dollars invested downtown. So said in another way, for every dollar Main Street puts into this program, another $5 is invested through private means in downtown improvement. So that could be everything from awnings to an entire building renovation, taking care of the brickwork, making improvements to the roof or the foundation, whatever it is. Sometimes those are barriers to investment, and we like to walk alongside property owners in this process. Yes. Okay. And this is one that we've done in collaboration with Tough Guys. Thank you again, Brian, who is in the audience here. This was a collaboration between the Laramie Beautification Committee, the city, Tough Guys, Visit Laramie, the Laramie Board of Realtors, property owners, and Main Street. We raised over $80,000 for phase 1, which we focused on 3rd Street. So we know that because of construction, the businesses on 3rd Street are struggling a little bit, that they've had less foot traffic, maybe less engagement from consumers. So we wanted to do something to highlight them and say thank you, that they are still part of the downtown district. And so we were able to do 2 blocks both sides throughout the district. And here in a few weeks, you'll see Tough Guys working on the Connor Hotel, finishing up that part of the project. And once that's done, we're going to do some drone footage and really show off the capability of this project. And one of the things that I think is really exciting is that there's an opportunity to sync it with the University of Wyoming football schedule and home games. And if we score a touchdown, the lights will do some fancy movement and all this fancy tech stuff that Brian knows way more about than I do. But over the graduation weekend for UW and then for the Laramie High School, the colors were changed for brown and gold and then red and white. And then right now you see for Memorial Weekend and sort of leading up to the 4th of July, they're red, white, and blue. So we're gonna have fun as we continue to invest in that project and make sure that people know that as they're driving through on 3rd Street, that they've entered somewhere special and unique. They should park and walk and spend some money.
Thank you, interrupt you.
Yes.
Trey, thank you. I just wanted to note that pulling these partners together required someone who was dedicated to this. A lot of the folks who were involved in this definitely, they all played a huge role. But Main Street played that role of like making sure all of these entities came together to ensure this happened. And so I just want to really highlight that because it was going to each of these businesses and seeing if they would get involved. And then the beautification board, some of us would go and talk to those too if we had connections, but really Main Street led the charge on this and pulling all these people together. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and make sure.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I do enjoy herded cats every once in a while. So moving on to examples from our marketing and promotions. Again, we're really well known for our events, but we do so much more than that. So this last year, visiting with businesses, there were a lot of folks that were not feeling completely, that they hadn't completely come out of COVID and that construction was becoming a barrier to customers accessing them and that our shop local campaign just wasn't doing enough to support them. And so there's a lot of backstory on this. We've met with the University of Wyoming and people who think about the psychology of consumer spending and to think about the language that we use to invite people to come downtown. We worked with the city and the chamber and Visit Laramie, and we decided to refresh our shop local narrative and move more to an experience downtown narrative so that it was less about a financial transaction and more again about that memory making or uniqueness or discovering something that you could only do in downtown Laramie. And for those of you who are sitting here today who participated in this project, thank you so much. That you helped us challenge our community to support local, to experience local during the holiday season. That campaign was so fun to see the amount of civic engagement around that, and people cheerleading you and your favorite business and coming downtown to also experience downtown. And so we track that data in terms of the campaign reach, both in print and social media. But one of the things I'm most excited about in meeting with the incoming University of Wyoming president is that she wants to get involved in this challenge this holiday season. And so maybe we'll have a little friendly UW City Experience Local Challenge that happens from this. The other project that we've been working on is to better tell the story of our individual entrepreneurs. So why it is that they opened a business downtown? What was their dream? What is their passion? What is it that they like best about serving their customers? And maybe a random fact, about them. And so our volunteers have been working with the University of Wyoming, again, an English professor, a photography professor. They launched this program called People First and helped us gather stories to be able to highlight the stories of our individual entrepreneurs. We're continuing this campaign with a new set of volunteers who are going out and interviewing our business owners, so that you're going to see more focus on these are your neighbors, right? These are people that your kids play soccer with, or that you see at the grocery store, and that you serve on a volunteer board with. And we know from the psychology of community building that you're much more likely to spend money in a locally owned business when you know the owner and it feels personal. And then the International Flavor Fest, which again, thank you for the proclamation and your participation in this. Again, 100% volunteer driven. Ali Grossman and Deb Ross have been incredible in bringing this to life. Another collaboration with the University of Wyoming through their Global Engagement Office and International Student Association. We have 40 countries represented, 22 participating restaurants. Most of them run out of food throughout the week. We see an increase in foot traffic and new customers. On average, we see that each customer spends $150 during the festival. And so estimated over the 5 days, that's $165,000 that's invested downtown just during this week. Mayor.
This has turned into such a fun event, and I'm wondering, are you partnering with the tourism board to get this out more regionally to bring people in?
Thank you, Mayor, for that. We do partner with Visit Laramie on marketing, but I think, yes, we can have a much more thoughtful conversation about what does the strategy look like to bring more people into the community, because most of the customers we see are Albany County, Laramie County. And so that conversation of how do we grow the events, but being mindful that our businesses are already running out of their specials, right? So how do we help the businesses grow if we're inviting more people from outside the community in to participate? But yeah, I think that's a really thoughtful consideration. And I should say too that Visit Laramie has purchased Placer AI. So a lot of our data around foot traffic and where people are coming from is thanks to that partnership that they are running reports for us on our events.
Councilor Newman.
So a comment on this one. I have two comments, I guess. The first one is, it's really hard to pick which restaurant to go to first. It really is, because it's like, will that food be there tomorrow? But I really appreciate this, and I know other people who I've talked to really appreciate this, because I'm one that I don't like to try new food. But this makes me go try new food, and I've learned that I've liked a lot of food that I thought I hated back, so and then you go out and you just start talking to people, and it's amazing. So if there's some way that we could get more food, that would be great, but right?
I was, Ryan O'Neill was going around the state talking to people about art and culture as economic sector. And that's what kind of got me thinking. And what was that? You were there 2 years ago. And I began to see this as a well-developed cultural event where culture as economic sector.
Thank you all. And I also have a hard time like planning out my route that week. We started the International Flavor Festival specifically in April because Q1 can be quite challenging to businesses as consumers are recovering from their credit card statement after the holidays. So to drive traffic during a time of year that was typically slow, but really the beauty of this event has been inviting our international students and international community members to have ownership of what happens downtown, to feel that they have a seat at the table and that they have a place. So it really is just as much about economic development in terms of an infusion of new customers and spending, but community building and creating that sense of belonging. So the other thing that we have been trying, and I'll admit upfront, always room for improvement on this one, is doing more promotions during home games. We know that Laramie becomes, one of Wyoming's biggest communities during home football games, and that we have a lot of alumni coming into town from Casper or Sheridan. Again, working with Visit Laramie to understand where the target audience is coming from, how do we advertise to them where they're at before they get on the road, but then when they get to town, regardless of when tailgating starts, trying to get them to come downtown and again, spend some money. And so there were 6 home games last year, including the Josh Allen jersey retirement celebration. And so we asked businesses to offer a promotion. We said something as simple as 10% off for somebody coming in wearing brown and gold. Try to make it easy. So we had 20 businesses participate, offered that 10% off. We saw an increase in digital campaign engagement, an increase in foot traffic, and really more importantly, the potential for greater collaboration with the University of Wyoming. When we think about the economic impact that home games have, how can we leverage that to benefit our small locally owned businesses in the district? Well, really community-wide, not just downtown. And then farmers market, I put this one under one of our economic development services because we treat it as a pipeline for young entrepreneurs. So you can have an idea, say about cupcakes, and you're making cupcakes out of your home, and you come and you have a booth at the farmer's market and you test your product with the community and you sell out every week and realize that there's a demand for your product. So then when you're ready to grow, Main Street can walk alongside you in a lease negotiation, finding a place to rent downtown, thinking about your marketing strategy. Then you continue to grow. Now you're buying a building downtown. And now Sugar Mouse, she's franchising. Oh, let's go from a booth at the farmer's market to a business that's now franchising is incredible. And that's the pathway and the entrepreneurial ecosystem we want to create with the farmer's market. So again, one of those holistic dualities of community building. Was raining, yay. Whoever did the rain dance, thank you. But community building, but also that support for entrepreneurs so that people can come, whether they're hobby or whether they're really thinking about a growth strategy and launch from the farmer's market. So some data on this. And this is thank you to Anna, who's our program coordinator. She's done a really good job of helping us measure the ROI of the farmer's market. So last year we had 183 vendors. This was a year-over-year increase in vendor applications. Our applications for this cycle was closed and we saw another increase. So our waiting list is getting quite large. Quick math. So we know that on average, each vendor is bringing in, on average, 1,600 in sales per market. So with an average of 90 vendors per market in 15 markets, that's $2 million in sales that the farmer's market is generating. That's money that's circulating multiple times throughout our community.
You're sure, can you say those numbers one more time?
So we surveyed all our vendors and we know on average, based on size, how much they're making each market. So this is in profit before vendor fees, and our vendor fee is $35 in comparison. per spot. Okay, so each vendor is making $1,600 in sales per market with an average of 90 vendors times 15 markets, roughly $2 million. Cool. Yeah, it's so exciting. We have the largest farmers market in the state. And we continue to think about how we can make improvements. That's one thing about Main Street, right? We're constantly thinking about, is this working? Is it fulfilling the strategy that we want to see for a vibrant downtown? Where is the pivot? How can we continue to improve? So last year we launched the Good Neighbor program and Friends of the Market, and this was meant to address food insecurity. So many of you might remember at the time, there was questions on whether or not the SNAP program would continue, the stress on our food banks and pantries. And so Main Street wanted to be able to move into this space and offer not a solution, but at least some partnership in this role. And so through the Good Neighbor program, folks could come, and if they were growing a little extra, like our First Lady has encouraged us to do, or they were buying a little extra, they would leave food in baskets at the market tent. And people could either come by and grab what they wanted, no questions asked. And at the end of the market, whatever we had left, we took to the soup kitchen. So over 15 markets, we donated 434 pounds of fresh food to the soup kitchen. And then through the Friends of the Market program, which was a way for us to raise money for SNAP, our plan is still, if SNAP goes away, we will continue to run as if the program exists. So for every, say, $20 that a participant spends on SNAP, they get another 20. So we're giving them $40 to spend at the farmer's market. So the Friends of the Market helps us do that. We raise money from individuals who sponsor that program. And the excess that we had through the SNAP match, we were able to donate to Interfaith. So $4,341 we were able to give to Interfaith last year. And again, this is matching our SNAP transactions 100%. So whatever somebody decides to come and use on their SNAP card, we match it. As a note, farmers market vendor fees make up 13.5% of our operational income. So we've also been able to keep the fees low enough to continue to allow growth and for those vendors to make a good amount of money, but incorporate it in our overall operational strategy to offset our costs. Ooh, and now we get to talk about construction. And I'm glad this is behind us. So during Third Street construction, YDOT invested $5.9 million just in downtown on Third Street on this project. This is like 30 years in the making. I mean, we've got plans on the shelf that go back decades. So thank you to YDOT for the partnership and helping us see this through. During construction, staff made 200 in-person visits with impacted businesses. We let them know updates from YDOT, resources that they had, where to go to get more information, and sometimes just listen to them vent, because therapy is also in our job description. We created a marketing campaign with templates for businesses to use to communicate to their customers, i.e. how to access them during construction. We provided a marketing grant that matched businesses with professional social media and graphic design services if that was something that they wanted to create new content to engage with their customers. We purchased $3,600 in gift certificates directly from impacted businesses and used those for promotional giveaways throughout the year, last year. We delivered 51 care bags, including these really cute stress balls in the shape of traffic cones. We sent out 25 newsletters to our businesses with project updates. We hosted project information on our website, and staff attended weekly meetings with YDOT to stay informed and share that information back to businesses. Our public-facing communication included e-newsletters, paid advertising on social media, and at the movie theater, which resulted in a reach of 93,000 views. So we know that this construction project wasn't without its stress and frustration. We learned a lot throughout the process. I think number one is always communicate. And so that's what we strove to do, but there's always more that we could do. And so as we move forward with improvements downtown, we'll take lessons we learned from this project and apply to next time there's an improvement project that closes the street.
I just wanted to comment that during this process, I received significant feedback from downtown merchants about the communication, and that it just made the whole process a lot more workable, that they knew what to expect, they knew what was coming, they felt supported. I really got positive feedback in a challenging situation. Councilor Doherty.
I wonder if you can pass on some of that knowledge to the businesses on Grand between 17th and the interstate, because they're going to be impacted. So it's going to be one way. So they're going to be working on around 17th. So those businesses could be affected, and then Grand will be one way. They fix one side of the street, and then it'll be one way. Not one way. I'm sorry. One side will be two ways, and then they'll move to the other side to fix it. But anyway, any wisdom, it's not like there's a Main Street version for Grand, but it might be nice to pass on some of that, that wisdom that you have. Thanks.
Yes, Mayor, through you, happy to help with sort of lessons learned and what worked and what didn't, and whether that's with the city's communication team or the chamber, or, you know, whoever the contractor is, happy to sit down and share lessons learned. That is the beauty of community, because we don't do any of this alone. On to my favorite part is business support, also known as economic gardening. This is at the heart of what Main Street does. We support entrepreneurs when they are ready to jump, when they're ready for that brick and mortar location. We help them drive consumer traffic to facilitate the growth of their business. And we walk alongside them in transitions. So whether they're ready to sell, retire, relocate, or they're just struggling with QuickBooks and they need a helping hand. Staff provide this one-on-one business coaching and support. Everything from lease negotiations, marketing best practices and trends, help applying for grants or loans, navigating permits or licensing, facilitating peer-to-peer networking and collaborations, and resource identification. So we are a concierge. So when somebody comes and says, I'm struggling with X, Y, or Z, it's our job not to be able to be the best at that and solve the problem, but to identify where they can go for that support. So whether that's the Small Business Development Center, the Wyoming Women's Business Center, Manufacturing Works, Business Council, UW, the city, LCCC, it's our job to understand and know what resources exist and to play matchmaker when the entrepreneur needs that resource. So in 2005, we helped 4 businesses expand. So this includes growing into new locations downtown and or a business being sold to a new owner, and assisted 22 new businesses in opening. This resulted in a net gain of 16 businesses and 40 net new jobs. And into the organization component here, our operational income. You'll see that the city of Laramie makes up 22.4% of our income. Thank you again for that support. Brewfest and the Farmers Market are by far our biggest revenue generators at 51.9% of our income. This is followed by donations and grants at 21%. Our goal is to always continue to diversify our revenue sources. And then our expenses, no surprise that staff provided services make up 61.4% of our expenses. This pie chart does not include our restricted funds. So things like our HFR endowment, that gift can only be used for physical improvement projects. So it's not part of our operational account. We even keep it in a separate bank. So the HFR endowment helps us with the facade grant program, signage, lighting, public art, any physical beautification project. That's why you don't see that in this makeup. So ROI, as an accredited Main Street community, which there are 838 in the United States, and I should note that in the last 20 years, there have been 93 Great American Main Street Awards. It's like the Oscar of Main Streets, and Laramie is one of those at the national level. Part of this accreditation is that we have to track our data monthly. So we compile how much money's been spent downtown every month, whether that's private or public improvements, our volunteer hours, our business outreach, new jobs, anything you think of that we would need to measure. We track monthly. We send that over to the Wyoming Main Street program, which is housed under the Business Council. They verify that and then send that on to Main Street America. And Main Street America, we go through an accreditation process annually. So these are the stats for 2005. Really exciting to look at. For every $1 spent by Main Street, another 36 was invested downtown. How many of us wish our savings accounts did that? Yeah. Again, this is in large part to the improvements made by Whiteout on 3rd Street, renovations of City Hall, the light poles that were installed by the city on 3rd Street, and private property investments in the district. All told, $8.2 million in public and private funds were spent in the district in 2005. And this includes another $50,000 of donated labor from our community members and volunteers. So with that said, I thank you for your investment. I think we have a pretty good ROI. And with that, I'll take any questions that you might have.
Councilors, questions or comments? Councilor Freed.
Thank you, Mayor, and Director Sherwood, thank you so much for the presentation and all the work you do. And I love the numbers. It really helps us tell stories, and those numbers are the most fun story to tell. It's the people you probably interact with, and the business owners, and the cool, awesome things like the Brew Fest that you guys get to help sponsor. But for me, the numbers and communicating that to the public is so helpful. So really grateful for how detail oriented you guys are at collecting this info. And in this presentation, my only other comment is, we're going to start tackling some downtown parking, potentially. The city manager brought out a few weeks back. And so, I'm sure there will be a lot of interested folks that you interact with daily. And so I could see some collaboration happening there too.
Thank you. Further, Councilor Newman.
Will you debunk something that I've heard over and over and over again? That the money that we give you as the city, you guys use that to go lobby against the city. Could you debunk that?
Councilor Newman, through you, Mayor.
Thank you.
For those who are listening online with members of the public, you'll see that all of the fee-for-service partners have essentially a conflict of interest form that we are very clearly drawing a line and the delineation that the investment from the city is not meant to use to influence policy, to advocate, to support an elected official or an office. You can see from our data, and I'm happy to go into even more depth, that 100% of the funds that are invested by the city of Laramie go to support locally owned businesses. Never once does Main Street ask them their political affiliation. We are there regardless. So the business needs us, we are there, no questions asked. Hopefully that was helpful.
Thank you, Trey. Councilor Neal.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Trey. This was awesome. I thought I knew most of this information, but maybe two things that kind of stuck out. I didn't realize that we are the largest farmers market in the state. That is wild. That is so cool. That's a point of pride for me for sure. And then just to piggyback off, I don't know if it was Brandon, Councilor Newman, or someone else said earlier about the International Flavor Festival. I think eventually it would be really cool to expand to be a more regional event. I know it's there's a lot of logistics and it's all volunteer run. I really commend Allie and Deb for taking that on. I've been able to be a judge for that the past 3 or 4 years. And so that's definitely one of my favorite weeks out of the year. But yeah, just kudos. I really appreciate this. Thanks.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. The comment about the farmers market, maybe think about the fees. Do you know how Laramie's fees compare to other areas of the state in terms of vendor fees?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. We are lower than Fort Collins in Colorado, slightly higher than other communities in Wyoming, but within the average. And again, that balance of making it affordable, or so not creating a barrier to participation, but also making sure we cover our costs. With that, I guess the other thing I forgot to mention is that last year we started offering nonprofits. So we offered 2 nonprofits every market a free spot. And then we rotate through community nonprofits and partners. So you still apply, but there's no fee.
Can I just, to the point, that they're low, the fees feel low, and they're very affordable, so it's very.
Councilor Lockhart.
Good. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Sherry, for your presentation. Very educational. I just had a friend move back to town. He's been gone probably, I don't know, 10 years. And we had to sit down and he was talking about how vibrant the downtown is and like hardly any open source spaces. And so something to be very proud of. I did have a question on, we have 16 net new businesses. Do you know how many storefronts are open still available to rent or buy?
Through you, Mayor, thank you. That's a great question. So we do keep track of, we have a building inventory, we have a business inventory, have a sense of what's open, what's occupied. Our vacancy rate historically has been very low, like less than 10% vacancy. And we do have on our website a list of anything that is either for rent or for sale, so that we can help when somebody's ready to come in. Our challenge right now is the buildings that are open or underutilized are massive. And so what does that mean? They're bigger than what a startup entrepreneur needs. So even last week with the board, we were talking about, could we create a program to help property owners that have buildings that are empty, divide those spaces up maybe to 1,500 square feet to help them generate multiple tenants, multiple revenue coming in. And so I think there's a perception if you drive through really quickly and you see, oh, the old Boot Barn is still open and empty, right? That's a huge space. And it's a combination of factors, whether it's, a willing buyer or seller, the economy, price per square foot, but it's really that it's more space than what a typical Main Street business needs right now.
Right. Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Thank you. And then I'll briefly ask, are there any public comments on this agenda item? Okay.
Mayor, if I could add, council, you'll see the fee for service agreement June 2nd council meeting for this fee for service agreement. Likewise, I will say that we appreciate Laramie Main Street Alliance and their involvement with the city. The relationship is mutual, and they are also admiration for what they accomplished.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you very much. Our
Mayor, the Laramie Chamber Business Alliance isn't with us tonight for some reason. I've been reaching out to get a hold of them. I've not been able to get a hold of them. But let's move on to the next session item. Would be the Laramie Regional Airport.
So fee for service contract with the Laramie Regional Airport. And welcome.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tammy Wick. I'm the finance manager at the airport. Director Terrell is actually in Washington, D.C. getting one of her daughters still looking for an internship for the summer. So she was unable to make it, but asked me if I would come in and just talk to you a little bit about the increased funding request that the airport has for this fiscal year. In this biennium, the airport is asking for $250,000 instead of the $205,000 that we'd asked for last year. Basically, there's 3 factors that impacted our request for additional funding. The first one is just our staffing requirements with the new early morning 5:30 a.m. flight in Iran that comes in at 10 o'clock. And then the second factor is some increased FAA requirements as far as being a Part 139 airport. We have some technology, requirements and stuff through that part of it. And then the third one is, just a change in some of the revenue that we know are coming for this next fiscal year. So I'd like to start talking about the operational hours a little bit. We did extend the commercial hours. Thank you. So we did extend the commercial hours at the community's request for that early 5:30 a.m. flight, which we're happy to extend, and we're our loads are up, the flights are full. As a matter of fact, tonight they're bringing a CRJ 550. They usually bring in a CRJ 200, but because they've had to kick some people off due to weights and balance, they're bringing in a larger plane. It still has 50 seats, but they're hoping that they'll be able to accommodate all the passengers that are flying out of Laramie. So, but with that, we have those expanded hours. So historically, the airport's been open 13 hours a day. With the new flight schedule, we are now open 17 and a half hours a day. And during winter operations, it's usually a minimum of 18 and a half or more, depending if we have a snow event that is impacting us for the first flight as well as to the return flight at 10 o'clock. So that's a pretty large expansion of hours. It's over 1,654 hours of additional staff that we need to cover those hours. So that's really the biggest impact that we're going to have on the next fiscal year. Along with that, we also have some increased federal compliance requirements. We have some new technology requirements from the FAA. They oversee all of our safety, all of our airport inspections. They oversee TSA, our TSA requirements, as well as our facility maintenance and our security, also our emergency preparedness. So the FAA has a lot of requirements for what we have to maintain and what we have to provide as far as their Part 139 requirements go. So with that, some of the additional things that we found in the last year that have increased, we have new technology requirements. Our applications for Part 139 actually have a Part 139 app that that's how the guys report conditions for the runways, the aprons, so aviators can get online and see what the conditions are before they fly into Laramie, which keeps us safe and keeps all of our pilots that are flying in safe as well. And so with that, we have that requirement. We also have a couple of additional requirements. We have our ARC requirement, which is our firefighting rescue. So we sit ARC for every commercial flight. We start 15 minutes before the flight arrives, and we sit it for 15 minutes after the flight takes off. Not only do we do it for our commercial flights, but we also do it for all of our charters. So all of the UW charters that come in and go out for football, as well as basketball, volleyball, we have to sit ARF for those as well. So we have to make sure that we always have certified ARF staff available to sit those flights. So we do have some training requirements for that. The guys are all right now going through their live burns up in Casper, and Wyoming's lucky because we do have an ARF training facility, and so there's a lot of states that don't. So most of our guys can just pop up to Casper and get live burn-in, so that's really helpful. Another one of the new things is we just had a TSA cyber inspection. So they came out to make sure that all of TSA's, basically their technology is safe, and we're keeping it safe, and we're not allowing people into their IT room where they keep their IT information. And along with that, last year, WARMS did suggest and strongly required that we add cybersecurity to our insurance. So that was an additional expense that we've now had to add, but most of the public agencies have also added the cybersecurity requirement as well. So that's another expense that we've had. And then along with that is a revenue change. And I don't know how many of you are aware, but UPS closed their 2nd Street facility and they moved over to Cheyenne. That's about a $54,000 impact to the airport because we no longer have these Elon flights coming in every night with packages for UPS. So they used to fly in 6 nights a week. The only night they didn't come in was on Sunday. So that's $54,000 in facility fees that we were collecting from them that we are no longer able to collect. So that was a big impact that we knew was coming as soon as we found out they were. As a matter of fact, they're already gone. Their last, I think the 13th of March was the last time they delivered packages to us. So we've already seen some of that impact in the last month or so on facility fees. And then in addition to that, we look at the CPI. We look at the CPI every month. over the last 12 months, the CPI is at 3.81%. So with that, all of our operating costs have gone up, our utilities are going up. The expanded flight times, now we have to have the lights on at the terminal from 3 in the morning until about 10:30 at night. Also the heat, we had to change all of our set points for when the heat comes on and when the heat goes off, and in the summer when the air comes on, when the air goes off. So it has definitely impacted most of our utilities out there as well, being open longer. So those three things are basically the main emphasis for us asking for additional funding. The airport, our whole goal is to be self-sustaining. So we are still looking at all of the ways that we can increase our income. Operationally, we're kind of maxed out on where we can look for income. We can raise our fees by the CPI, which we will do come July 1, level up by the CPI, but really there's no more operational areas where we can seek further income. So Director Terrell has switched her direction to the business part. So we have a lot of land out at the airport, and most of it is already on the city water and sewer due to previous projects of the city. So we are working with a couple of investors right now to bring in some manufacturing out to our business park, which that would make a big impact on the airport as far as financially. No money that's generated within our operations can go off the airport, but money from our business park can come into the airport. So a lot of the airports within the state use their business parks to help fund the airport, which is a really great plan. And we currently do have one business, we have Laramie in our park committee. They're a great PCE. We have worked them really well, and they seem to enjoy being out there. There's optimal parking out there. They're having trouble finding their way out there. So Director Terrell is working on that. That's the main thing that she's been focusing on for the last couple of weeks. As a matter of fact, there's somebody coming in the first week of June from out of state to talk about building a large facility out there. So as we keep working on that part of it, we hope to become self-sustaining so that we can someday not ask for a single penny from the city. But until that happens, we're going to come in and request some funding. YDOT just did an economic impact study for the airports in the state in 2025, and we do have the preliminary numbers for that. I think their publications are going to be coming out in the next couple of months. But the Laramie Regional Airport had a $38.5 million economic activity revenue for the city of Laramie and the county. With that, there was also $1.5 million in tax revenue that's generated. So our return on investment is $152 for every dollar that the city puts out to the airport. So we have a pretty good return on investment. Plus, we're pretty proud of our airport. It's really nice. Our terminal's really nice. We get a lot of people who come in and they say, oh, we didn't have any idea your airport was this nice. And our FBO is really nice too. So we do get a lot of general aviators that come in. And they come back because they like our FBO. They can get a snack, and they like to take a picture by the home of the Wyoming Cowboys sign out front. And our staff is really friendly too. So we do get a lot of people who come back for the staff just so that they can hang out, or they'll take a break, or they'll stop in for gas and have a rest in there. So we do have all of that going on. But anybody has any questions?
Thank you, Tammy.
Yeah.
Questions or comments? Councilor Doherty.
You used an acronym. I think what you were saying is that these firefighters or trained emergency staff are standing by every time there's a plane that's gonna land or take off.
For commercial flights, yes,
Yeah.
for commercial flights and for all of our charter flights. If they're a certain type of flight, we are required to sit that's part of our 139 requirements for the FAA.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and we have 3 minutes to get to the field from if something happens. And we do train for that. We did test it on that when we do our inspections. So yeah.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you so much for this information. I really appreciate the breakdown of these increased costs. Some of these things I would not have even begun to think about, like utilities needing to go up and UPS. So that insight is really helpful in considering this. So thank you.
Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Wig, for the thorough explanation. I had an opportunity about a year ago to sit down with Director Terrell. She just wanted to explain where the airport was versus where it is now. And then, of course, now adding another flight every day, which makes everybody happy. I think you guys have done an amazing job out there. So something to be very proud of. So I think your request is just a small ask compared to what you guys are doing out there.
Thank you, Councilmember. It's mostly due to Amy's hard work. I think she came into a mess and has really turned things around out there, so.
I'll just say, I think it's the entire team. Amy is an amazing leader, but you all just work together so closely. And I've been on the airport board now for almost 2 years. And it is an amazing team, and you continue to build collaboration and consolidation. And I feel privileged to be a part of it.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time and more as well.
Thank you. Councilor Freed.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. I always like supporting the airport, and I use it personally in the job. And the fact that you're willing to listen to the public and add that early flight it's sold out. I can't even get on it if I'm not on top of it. A few times I've needed to for work, but your staff is incredible out there. So I just wanted to say, really appreciate this presentation, and again, the numbers and the story that it tells, and the needs and the long-term goals of being sustainable, but understanding that there's some realities that you need from us, from the county, and the fact that we're both willing to put funding into this to help you guys is I think a great thing and a community asset. So really appreciate it, and thanks to you and your staff for always being who you are out there.
Thank you very much.
Councilor Newman.
And I think, I'll just echo some of what the mayor said. The way that you guys bounce ideas off of each other out there is amazing. The mayor had one out there 2 years ago, maybe, to address some concerns that we heard, and then they weren't really there. But then I got a tour after the fact, and Amy drove me all over the place. I think if you've never been out there, you guys should go. It's bigger than I thought it was. But she was like showing different projects, and she was like, oh, that came from a groundskeeper. This came from, so the way that you guys work out there, I think this is a small ask.
And since I got on the airport board, I started flying out of Laramie, and it is so convenient. And we calculated what we spend on gas, parking for a 2-week trip, it possibly having to stay overnight so we could be there, the next day. Is actually cheaper to fly out of the Laramie airport, and it is a beautiful airport, and I love the chairs are comfortable, and there's a fireplace and popcorn and coffee and tea, and it's just really cozy and comfortable, and I love it. All right, I'll go to public comment on this agenda item. Seeing none. Tammy, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
That was you.
And with this one, you'll see it next Tuesday at City Council, and then we have mutual amount of respect for whether they're in the region or our community.
All right, and our next fee for service and sponsorship agreement for the annual Winter Lights Festival. Come on down.
Sponsors, we're in the process of getting into our sponsors.
Thank you.
Good athleticism. We're going to fill that one later.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm Brian Welper, the General Manager of Tough Guys Landscaping and Lighting. I have a presentation, and I have a lot that I'll probably say and answer any questions. But I am kind of PowerPoints in my life. And so I have a framework person who put together a little video explaining the Winter Lights Festival. And so I'll just let you watch that and we'll go from there. There is sound, but
I might have to narrate.
No, it's not. Oh, I'm sure there's a setting somewhere that I'm missing. It's that's a good thing.
See what this does. Nothing. Okay. Wow.
As you walk the park tonight, as long as the parks are open, please look at those families, look at those signs, and support local businesses.
We come every year. This is the biggest year. I think the Tough Guys does an amazing job of putting out new displays to entertain the families, and the way they entertain with bringing the Grinch and Santa in is pretty amazing.
And for sure being a sponsor, though.
Oh, okay, cool. What's
Yeah. It's for the Clinic for Mental Health and Wellness.
Okay, right on. Cool.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Seeing how many people have come and just all the lights and the festivities, it's awesome.
Yeah, what's your favorite thing about the Winter Lights?
My favorite thing about the Winter Lights Fest is how much it grows every year and all the new designs.
To go with his hands.
Yes.
So thank you. Thank you.
It's awesome.
Thank you, Brian.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'd just like to say thanks to the council for considering this and kind of what Trey had said. I know Todd is one of yours from the city manager's office. Nancy, they all take good care of me. Like Nancy Open-Potter, how many times when going through the permit process, she's wonderful. Todd was from day one been a huge support, so thank you to the city manager's office. And then a big thanks to the City of Laramie Police Department. They were a huge help last year. We had our first year of vandalism after 3 years, which we figured was coming. But they were a huge help. When we installed more cameras out there, our cameras would go off at 10 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, and it would be a City of Laramie police officer walking through the park. And so kudos to them. There's actually one night, my brother will laugh at this. It was right around Christmas Eve. We were trying to catch the culprits and all that. So we decided to pull over and just sit there. And, you know, it was pathetic. We had the lights off, truck off, and windows are fogging up. And all of a sudden here comes a bright light. And we're like, oh, that's a police officer. So I decided to leave it in their hands. But, and then, yeah, huge shout out to my staff and the support of the community. And then, of course, this all wouldn't be possible without all those sponsors that you see with the signs. So, yeah, I mean, the Winter Lights Festival, I think you guys have probably been there, and this year it grew by quite a bit, and we're trying to grow it at a slow rate, try not to grow. I was given advice from a good friend, Mr. Feeser, saying how he was from the very beginning, and I credit that, because this thing could get out of hand and get too big, and then it falls apart. And his advice in the very beginning was, take it slow and let it grow. Don't go too fast, because we want this to be around for years. And that's been great. Yeah, and so, our first year, how it started, 2022, was just, I'm a guy with Christmas lights, and I'm really excited. I'm from Gillette originally, and we had a festival where you drive through lights. My wife is from Southwest Wyoming, and they have a festival where you walk through lights. And yeah, I approached Todd at the city and I said, hey, can we take over a park for this Christmas? And they're like, sure, okay. And so we had a plan in August, and we went to all these businesses that very first year. I had a PowerPoint, and I was like, hey, here's my ideas. What do you got? Here's how much sponsorship. Trust me, it's going to be cool. And I had almost 30 businesses take a chance on this, which was cool. A lot of trust. And I call those businesses my OG businesses, because they're still with us today. Matt was a human being, was awesome. I mean, so like what's cool about it is the support of the community, right? Like I've had a lot of people we hear people that come from Eastern Nebraska, from South Dakota. And the one thing they said is cool about it speaks volumes to the Laramie community, that we all stick together, and that because of all the sponsors, they make this event happen. One of my sponsors, Montgomery Stryker Funeral Home, I was like, I don't get it. Like, why are you sponsoring this? It's not like you're out looking for business. And she was awesome. She said, because my family loves it, and I want to be a part of it. So, yeah, I don't want to get emotional. That's just my kids making fun of me all the time. So, but yeah, so what have we done? Now we're up to over 80 plus displays, 80 plus sponsors. We have sponsors. I have a sponsor that is adding next year that he wants to remain anonymous and does not want to be known as the sponsor, but he's sponsoring that big globe that we bought. We took a risk on that globe, and he's going to sponsor that globe, and it's actually going to be a globe for, I think he wants to call it the charity ball, and it's going to have a QR code to donate to local charities, things like that. We have other things we're adding this year, some exciting things. We've added that Whoville Cocoa Hut. When you see that money that was raised, a lot of that came from that Whoville Cocoa Hut that we have. We only allow nonprofits to be in that Whoville Cocoa Hut. So the money raised comes from two different sources. The one is from, we earmark a part of every sponsorship, and we earmark that. And then in the summertime, we give that back to the nonprofits that did work in the Whoville Cocoa Hut. And then the other amount is from people who were in the Whoville Cocoa Hut, donated their time. We donate all the hot chocolate, the cups, and everything, and 100% of the proceeds go to those nonprofits. Of course, if a nonprofit signs up on a busy night, it's awesome. We've had some sign up on nights not so busy, and we've tried to make a donation back to them to try to make it worth their time. So that 13,000, which was 10,000 in the prior year, is up from last year. Next year, we're adding, the Whoville Cocoa Hut was only open on Fridays and Saturdays, and we are actually adding the Thursday nights now. It does cause a lot more logistics on our part, but we have had a demand for it, and plus we've had a wait list of nonprofits asking to be in that Whoville Cocoa Hut. And that was actually with Community Partners Grant. We actually bought that from a snow cone vendor down in Utah. And you want to see a truck going across I-80 with that thing on there, you know, looks you get. So that thing's been awesome, the Whoville Cocoa Hut. We've partnered with University of Wyoming to offer UW night, which has turned into a huge night. Thousands of people come out. We have Coach Wicks read stories around a campfire, give away free UW gear, things like that, right after when the public schools get out. The grand opening has become quite the festivity. It grows every year, and I swear it is warm up until the grand opening, and then the temperature drops. And so, like this last year, we changed our grand opening from Friday nights to Saturday nights. A couple things, logistics-wise, getting everybody back. Saturday nights coincides with Small Business Saturday. We do that grand opening. And Friday, if we would have stayed on Friday night, it would have been a beautiful night to open. And then the next night it dropped. So that's Laramie, Wyoming. It is what it is. Somebody asked me, well, what happens if the temperature drops and it snows? It's like, we're opening that park. It is what it is. So we have First Responders Night, where we give free hot chocolate and treats for all first responders and veterans. And then we partnered with the Epson Center, and we do a senior night where we actually bring in seniors and we give them rides on golf carts around the park.
That's so cool.
So that was actually pretty cool. It was kind of fun. There's a group of old ladies that dressed up, and they were all dressed up. And one lady asked, she's like, "Did you like my outfit?" And I was like, "Oh, I love it," you know. And so, but my staff volunteered that night, and they helped them in and out of the carts, and it's a fun night. What's cool about it is we've started to see some other some towns around Wyoming that have started to copycat it a little bit, which feels good when people are starting to do that. And so that speaks volumes to what we're doing in Laramie. We've been on, you know, PR is PR, whether it's good or bad. The Cowboy State Daily picked up that vandalism, and of course they picked that up and they want to run with that, and they called to interview me and tell me all about the bad stuff. And I was like, there's a lot of good that comes from it. And but regardless, it went all out to the state of Wyoming. So now everybody knows about the Winter Lights Festival in Laramie. We partnered with Cowboy Joe Club. They send out to all their Cowboy Joe Club members. Union Credit Union, UW Athletics, Laramie Boomerang. We do a lot of different outreach. We also were recognized. I don't know if anyone knew. I just found this out from a friend that texted me a picture. There's it's a game where it's called a bucket list. It's for different states. And if you travel through different states, it gives you cities and what to do in that city. And it's a scratch-off card. And the bucket list item for Laramie is attend the Winter Lights Festival, which is pretty cool. And then the QR code goes to that, which goes to Visit Laramie. So beyond what we're doing locally, it is getting national recognition. We were recognized as the #1 display in Wyoming for Parade magazine, and so which we take very much pride in. And so, so it's grown this year. We're adding more sponsorships. We're adding a couple more displays. We're adding more kid-friendly events that we're going to be doing. So it's growing. The horse carriage has turned into a huge thing. And it's crazy how many people pop up and have a lot of ideas. Some things we talked about the surveillance. We are adding enhanced surveillance. I'm actually working with Tim Gaddis, and we're actually looking at doing a kind of like a little Nest network there. So we have our Wi-Fi network and improve security. It's kind of it. It'll open again this year. on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. We've moved it to Saturdays as the grand opening. It'll continue through the end of January. I did have some people ask, some people are like, why do you keep the lights up? Why are they still out in January? It's like, personally, as the parent, I am looking for so many ways to get my kids out of the house. That like December's crazy. It's busy. I feel like I hardly have time to go. But in January, it's like, it is only January 3rd. Like, come on. We leave them on. We've worked on trying to get more light or more activities happening in January to try to make it more family friendly, community friendly. Yeah, so we keep it on through the end of January, and just some of like when I talk about the fees that go into it, like we try to keep our fees very low for, when I say fees, our sponsorship levels, especially when I get hit up as a business, and people know you get hit up by a lot of sponsorships when different activities come into town. And every time I look at it and I realize how low our sponsorship level is for the amount of exposure people get. And it is kind of funny because you're not supposed to have a sign in the park, but for 2 months out of the year, people get to have a sign by their tree. And if you sit there during the day and see how many people walk that park at Washington Park, there's a lot of exposure. So we keep our fees low, but we have every night I have staff that shows up at the park at about 4:30, does the walkthrough, checks all the lights, checks the music, makes sure everything's on. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. My staff in the office is already working on next year. We're already planning for everything. We're calling for new sponsorships, calling people, making sure everyone's renewing. We're looking at new displays. We travel throughout the country to try to find more unique displays to make it more friendly. Yeah, so there's a lot of behind the scenes that come. So, I mean, I appreciate the support of the city of Laramie, and any little bit helps. Insurance costs, of course, have gone through the roof, and especially for event insurance. And so we try to make it as safe as possible and try to make it a fun display for family, everybody of all ages. The hardest part has been for us, well, the reason we partnered with the Epson Center is getting out to our senior community. A lot of people didn't know that it happened, and so we tried to go off social media a little bit and try to get in different Epson Center and things like that to make sure that everybody is aware and everybody gets to take it in. On Christmas Eve night, I don't know if anyone was there. On Christmas Eve, it was insane how busy it was. Of course, the weather helped. I mean, I wish we had a little snow because it makes that park look more beautiful, and but the amount of people that were there on Christmas Eve, making it a family tradition, is pretty cool. So yeah, I think that's all I had. And I just want to give a shout out to, pretty cool. We were excited. We were large business of the year for the Laramie Chamber Business Conference, and that goes to kudos to my staff for making that happen. So
Very good. Thank you, Brian. Comments or questions? Councilor Lockhart?
Thank you, Mayor. Brent, I had a smile my entire time looking at that. You and I are like guys, right? Thanksgiving, Christmas, my favorite holiday. I remember when Brian approached me in 2022 about his idea, and I was all on board for that thing. And then we had the opportunity on grand opening night we donated all the hot chocolate that night. And that first year, we ran out before it kicked off because there was a line of people. So me and John Campbell, he was with Kids 106, we just started going. The next thing you know, we're out and finally started to talk. So we've upped our amount of hot chocolate, and we really like the cocoa, the Whoville. It's a little tight in there, but it keeps us warmer with the fan. But I think it's such a great community event, and we go several times throughout the season. And last year when you expanded to be open through January, it just opens up more, just for a horse ride. Maybe because it's so busy right at Christmas and right before Christmas to be able to, hey, we didn't catch it then because they too busy, let's go this Friday night or whatever. So thank you for your vision, your staff's hard work, because I know that's not easy, and I hope it continues for years.
So
the family, thank you, Mayor. The family tradition aspect of it, both of my girls moved back to Kansas. And the one thing they do is they will come back for this every year, right? Because it's something we did before they moved away. And then now that they're gone, they're like, Dad, we're going out for Christmas. That just means we're going on the Christmas lights. And it also means I don't have to put them up in my house because I can just like, let's go to the park instead. Which doesn't work because I still have to put them up in my house. But I appreciate it. I do have a comment or a question if that's okay, Mayor.
Yes, yes.
You're a for-profit. Do you make any money off this event?
We have not really ran a profit off this event as of yet. There's a lot of everything that we do. It goes like that big globe we bought, for instance. That's a $15,000 piece of equipment. That large tree that we have that changes color is $30,000. So every time we reinvest money back in that. And that's why it's super important for us to take care of, because yeah, we do own that stuff. You could say we own that stuff. But that stuff goes in our conics out of our shop and it never leaves there until November again. So yeah, I guess you could say, I mean, in the books, but every time we are putting money back into it to try to make it better. One of the things we're adding this year is we're trying to add a little train for the kids and things like that. And that's not cheap. And it's custom made, So yeah, I would say, to be honest, in honesty, yeah, there might be a little bit because the first year we buy the lights and then after that, it's just kind of maintaining, you know, and we upgrade the lights. But every year we've added a large piece of whatever it is. I mean, that tree, the Whoville Cocoa Hut, the lights around the park when we added those color changing lights, those lights are about $400 a light. I mean, they're not cheap, and we have to have 12 or 15 of them on that playground. And so I would say we do, but it all goes right back into it. And if you talk to my accounting manager, she is always like, what are you buying now? And so she wants me on a budget, but when it's lights, it's really hard for me to stick to a budget. So yeah, hopefully I answered that.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor, to follow up. So similarly, as soon as you turn on that video, just like grinning, just thinking about it, it's so much fun. So can you share a little bit about the costs are going up? How much cost increase are you seeing year over year? And it's basically like you are breaking even or maybe losing a little money. How much do the sponsorships cost? Can you provide just a little bit more information?
Yes, that's a great question. Through you, Mayor. Our sponsorship levels went up just a little bit. The highest sponsorship level, so we start with our bronze, our silver, and our gold. Those are the trees. And so it's based on the bronze is the smaller trees up to the gold, which are the larger trees. The bronze start at $750 to sponsor that. And that includes us maintaining it, the lights, the sign. We print all the signs. We have all the signs made. And then the next one is $1,050. And then the last one, the large trees are $1,550. The large trees have about 45 to 50 strands of lights in them. And so so the lights themselves, okay, you have that the first year, but then we have, if you've ever been there when we're installing the lights, we have 3 lifts at the park when we're putting up lights. And some of that is I was able to barter on one of those lights and so give somebody a sponsorship and all that. But so we have the cost of lifts go up, maintaining the lifts that I have. We've had to increase that on our fleet. And then a big part of it is labor for the Winter Lights Festival. I mean, when there's vandalism, there's the cost of the lights that was done to that color changing tunnel, which we decided to take down. And the only reason we took that down is because that had our name on it. It wasn't a sponsor's name. If it was a sponsor's name, we would have fixed it and had it back up. But those lights on the tunnel are about $190 a strand on there. And on top of that, I had staff out there that after all that vandalism happened, I had staff out there a whole day. I had about 4 or 5 people out there on that Monday after it happened. And so there's a lot of unknown costs that we come up with that having that person there nightly to check on the staff, to check on them, the Whoville Cocoa Hut. That's a coordination where there's a lot of coordination that happens in the office and we have to get them the containers, we have to get them. So the cost, I guess maybe I don't have the exact, I'd have to get with mine, but every time we add something, it adds more to it. When we added that color changing tree, there's so much programming that goes into that we have to do. I mean, we have to map the lights and then we're sitting on a computer trying to make that work. So yeah, I mean, so the installation, the first year when we installed all those lights, we got it done in 3.5 days. Now we're there for November 1st is when we hit the ground. And if you're there the night before, the day before grand opening, we're still rushing to try to get everything done. And so the amount of labor that I put into it, the amount of hours, I could get you the exact hours. Our guys keep track of their hours on when we're installing, and then taking down the lights, cleaning up the park. We try to be good stewards of the park. The trash cans are full on the weekends with city, because the city only, we don't want them on the weekends. My guys change out the trash and take that. We work with the Parks Department to have a trash bag. So there's a lot of increased costs. I do appreciate the city taking on the electricity bill. I haven't seen the electricity bill yet, Todd, and so, but we try to be good stewards of that as well, and everything we use is LED lights, and we try to run it just for a certain amount of time. Our surveillance is going up. We increased our cameras last year, but we're gonna upgrade our cameras even more this year. If you saw how many times my phone rang, dude, and this is a kudos, I'll say this, and again, he doesn't want me to say this, but Todd, when that vandalism happened, I was in Utah with my family on Christmas, and I get a call from the good city of Laramie Police Department that there was some vandalism they caught. And I'm very big about, as a company, we are very big about our time away from work. And so I was just like, this festival is just becoming too much. I'm just overwhelmed. I just can't, I don't want this to interrupt my family life. I have 3 young kids, and I swear that it was the perfect timing. Todd sent me a text, and I try not to get emotional in this one, but I'm an emotional guy. He sent a picture of his mom. Sorry, Todd. And he said, hey, don't get down too much. Because his mom had visited for the week, and when they asked her what her favorite thing about her visit was, she said it was her night at the Winter Lights Festival. And so he said, he's like, there's a lot of good that's coming from this, so don't let it deter you. And it was perfectly timed, sorry. But, and it was after his dad had passed away earlier that year, so his mom was still, so anyways, it was that. There's a lot of emotional that you can't put a price tag on, but sorry. But you hear stories of that all the time, and I hear stories of that like that, and it's like, okay, back to it. Here we go. Monday morning, it was like, let's get surveillance cameras. That's right. There's a lot of good, and it was. It's one of those just in the moment, but then it's like, man, there's a lot of good that comes from this that we're not going to let the bad deter us. And so, they can try, but they're not going to take us down. So I don't have, and if you'd like, I can give you, there's a lot of sponsorships, and I forgot to say our last sponsorship is a diamond sponsorship, and that's the ones like the large trees, the largest displays that have a lot of exposure, and those go anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000 depending on the size of the display. But we've had some sponsors ask us if they could be exclusive as far as the only business in that area. And I won't allow that because that's not who we are as Laramie. I want everybody the opportunity. And that's why we try to keep our sponsorships low. Of course, those low sponsorships fill up fast, and the high ones are harder to go. But, we try to, we have plans to grow a little bit. But we told all of our sponsors that signed up, we locked them in for 3 years at that sponsorship level. And we don't want to raise rates on it because we want to keep this going for years to come.
Councilor Freed.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Brian, for all this. And one, it's really awesome in the city council work session to hear who built Cocoa Hut so many times. So that's pretty cool. But also I think the winters can be hard and dark and cold, and I think it's especially hard for some people with unique family situations or mental health things going on. And this is a bright light that spans generations, religions, whatever. This is a community thing, and so I think that's what I've heard in my time on council is just I don't even know how you quantify the benefits and people that are reached in a place that is really helpful at a time that's short daylight and the holidays. So I really like what you guys have done and your approach and how you interact with the community, and it's an awesome thing. So thanks.
Thank you. With that, if you look at the darkest time of year, it's crazy it's basically the whole time the Winter Lights Festival. And I have a lot of parents that say, I take my kids there, we just go play in the playground because we can go out at 4 o'clock. And so yeah. And that was the other thing I forgot to mention is we host, last year we were able to host 3 elementaries. We host them during the day. That's another added cost. We provide Santa hats, candy canes, and they all come. And then we have our guy that works for us that dresses up as Grinch. And they all get a picture with Grinch. And so, and my staff, I pay them all while they're there. My staff, when I say volunteer for their time, they don't volunteer, we pay them while they're there. Anytime they're at the Winter Lights Festival, it's all paid time. And so that elementary day, we hosted over 700 kids at home. And of course, things they have to come during the day, but we still turn on the music and have some of the fun things going on and try to make it fun for them. So
I really appreciate that you have extended the time and that it is during that darkest time of the year. And also it's concurrently with a number of religious festivals, holidays, not just Christmas, but it extends into many different holidays. So it becomes very inclusive. And I'm really inspired by the way this has grown. And I was just trying to remember the first year, you came in for the community partners funding. And was it the first year? It was the second year. So the second year, it was council who gathered and said, why are we doing this? Let's switch this to fee for service. We've got to do this because this is a service to the city. It helps to build community. And then to see that we've done 3 years and now we're moving into year 4, it's just a remarkable thing. And I appreciate your sharing your dream and your vision with our community and just making it like what was that thing, the scratch card of things to do and when.
it's a game on Amazon. It's bucket by state. And if you you scratch off, and my friend sent it to me the other day, and it says Winter Lights Festival.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Thank you so much. And is there any public comment on this agenda item? Public?
Mayor, if I could add, Brian said a few things that do make me feel bad. The first, he keeps saying, Todd hates it, Todd hates it. And what Brian's referring to is that, all of us, the city staff, we don't do this to be thanked or to be told that they appreciate what we do. We're here in the service of the community. And that's really, he's so gracious. And he was like, hey, Todd, can we recognize what you've done or can we do whatever? I'm like, it's not about what we did, right? It's the company that they stood up and did was so much greater than what we as staff did, whether it was through the special event permit or get him into the community partners program or getting together funding. And that's what I hope Brian's referring to, because Todd does not hate the Winter Lights Festival. I just don't like any recognition. That's
exactly what I'm referring to.
And then Brian did tell the story about my mom. And I was going to share it after Brian got that too. I appreciate you doing that. But, for some reason, since my dad had passed in September, my mom said that was the best day. And it ended with us being at the Winter Lights Festival. I had the picture pulled up. I was actually going to pass it around if they want to see it. But when I sent it to Brian, he called me up and said, I can't tell you how tiny that connection was. That just, like he said, started it back up to figure out what we're going to do on the next days. And so it's really important, I think, as you guys have all said, the impact to our community is greater than the investment. And what it shows through that month of December and January is a bright spot. And I agree with all the stuff, whether it's mental health, relief, that bright light in the darkest time of the year, all those pieces, it all comes through. But it comes from Brian's vision and Brian's hard work. And I really appreciate that, Brian.
Awesome. And I just think that Brian portrayed well the sense of community, of partnership, of working together, and all toward a single vision that you presented to us. So thank you very much, and thank you for your support in this, and thank you, council. I mean, year two, hey, we need to switch this and just make it a forever thing. So,
Mayor, council, you'll see this agreement on Tuesday again, so.
yes. And so no public comment. All right. Thank you very much.
Great. You want to go back to?
And then we'll go back to fee for service contract with the Laramie Chamber Business Alliance. Don't make us cry. We need to. Good evening, Brad Lindsay.
Anybody else need a tissue?
He's shy. Mayor, company members of the council, thanks for the audible. I wrote this down as the 28th, which was a miscommunication on my part. We've been dealing with a bit of a family emergency the last 24 hours, so we're getting through it though, and it's dog stuff, not stuff, so it's all good.
I was holding
my daughter's dog, so it's being done remotely, and it's been a hot mess. But thanks for the accommodation. When I looked, I was like, whoops. So anyhow, my apologies. Thanks for the audible. Glad to be here and to go over this, kind of the annual report. I look forward to this being more of a dialogue. I think you can look at kind of the stats, and just as by way of a background, when I started this job in 2018, the organization had $110,000 a year fee for service, due to, prior to property tax, prior to all the other things we look at, the council had made a concerted effort to say, let's figure out how, organizations become more self-sustainable. So we engaged our board said, let's see how we can move this down to a $10,000 level, which is our top tier kind of membership, because we think it's important for the city to be engaged financially and the benefits that come with it, the tables and things like that. But we got to that. We planned to do it over 5 years. We got to it in the 4th year and moved it down to that $10,000 level. And that's what our request is for the next biennium, and will be, in the foreseeable future, is that $10,000 level and that partnership that we have, which I really think is the important thing. Exciting things that we've done over the last year, and we don't even need to scroll through this. We meet with any business that is coming to town, is in town, wants to be in town, is trying to grow in town, has a problem in town, is upset about something in town. We really have an open door policy to serve the business community, which includes our nonprofit partners, businesses near and far, businesses that just do business in Laramie, but maybe don't associate with being a Laramie business sometimes. And we try to have an open door policy. Our team of 4, we run very lean compared to other chambers and EDOs, even in Wyoming, but nationally. Are competent professionals of the highest regard. If you have a question about a project that we did in the past, you can ask Joe or Josh, and they'll be able to rattle off the details in a quicker fashion than you could ever have. If you have an idea to make our community better, you can call really anybody in our office, but Kate has the most fire for how do we get something going and get it going fast. It's a fantastic team on the staff side, and then we have an amazing board of 11 community members that stretch from the nonprofit world to the hospital to Tri-Hydro, large and small employers alike, that give up a considerable amount of their time to fulfill the missions of the organization. And really the fee for service agreement that we have with the city, which I would say is probably the best bang for the buck you'll find in economic development anywhere. And with that, you also get kind of the chamber support. So we're very excited about that. I like to provide value, not things, and I like to do it through relationships, and I think our whole team does and our board does. So with that, we can run through the stats, we can go through kind of how the budget is managed. We can run through different projects. This year's been super exciting for us. We put 45 because that's the ones we document, but on a daily basis, we probably meet with at least 1 or 2 businesses. So that would make, if you said it was a 200-day work year, it's probably more like 400, but 45 are ones that we engaged in some sort of formal, like asked from another organization or looked at different grant opportunities. We could look at, the housing work that's come from the Great Partnership, not only with the city, but the, 85, 90 committed people in our community who spent 3 years meeting and going, okay, we know the problem, but how do we start, putting some meat on the bones of the fish bone, and getting some things done. With that, our organization started the Albany County Housing and Land Trust. We were able to hire Brett Schmeckel as the first executive director. And then just last week, through partnership, we're able to secure our first property to move forward, which is super exciting, and terrifying all at the same time. So, yes. Great things are happening. And we really appreciate that partnership and kind of the visionary, let's step out and try something different. As I talk to my colleagues around the state and around the country, these partnerships aren't the first lead. People don't say, how do we try something different? There tends to be adversarial relationships between business and government at all levels right now. And we just don't have that here. And I think, when I was listening to Tough Guys talk, it's hard not to get emotional about our community. And if we all get on board of trying to solve problems, we can get good things done. And, sometimes there's going to be pain. I think the last thing I would leave you with, and I do this every year, is some challenges that maybe we can talk about. We're incredibly constrained. Housing, we've known. Commercial space, almost every buildable lot in town that's a commercial zone lot is gone, which is a great problem to have. But elasticity in these markets is important for growth. We have one company that was a startup company that's tried in the biomedical space. We facilitated one last year. We leased space because they didn't really have the credit balance sheet to do it. So we stepped in and leased the space for them and another company to be able to upscale and move out of the Impact 307 space so that they can continue to grow and scale. We've got another one on the heels of that finding space for kind of a small medical deal that's highly specialized space. So that one's kind of an outlier, but commercial space, we're running out of space. And then I think a challenge that I just want to put in front of you that we need to start having dialogue on is, this data center and opposition to data center. And we don't have any that are like beating down the door. We have ones that call all the time. But I think we have a very unique community, a very unique ecosystem in this area. And everybody else is approaching it from a let's not do anything. And I think we could approach it from here are our rules, here are our standards, and here's our wish list. We're talking about a different scale of problem solvers, a different scale of money. When you talk about things that these data companies are willing to do for communities. But I would really encourage you to get engaged in that dialogue and dig for the facts, because some of the stuff that's out there is not true, some of it is. I sort through it on a daily basis. I'm trying to get more engaged with the statewide data center coalition to try to figure out, where the rubber meets the road and where the truths and where the not truths are. And I think that's important for all of us to do. Our board's authorized us to set up a tour for all members of council, city staff, county commission, to go over and actually tour what's going on in Cheyenne and hear from them what the challenges are and be able to ask, what do you wish you would have been able to do better? I think that's a question that's out there that in the melee, we're not asking the right questions in that. And I think we can dictate everything from what kind of power, where the power comes from, what constraints, where limits are. I think there's ways to shape this in a much more effective way. And so I would encourage you to go on that journey with us as an organization and a community and as a governing body, to really kind of dig into those and say, what would we like to see? What would we not like to see? What's our hard nose? I know members of the council, you know, we have a goal to be a carbon zero. That's important. We have, you know, goals to be energy efficient. Water is definitely a concern. Water storage. There's all these things that I think we need to investigate and kind of have a wish list of what we would like to see. If this, you know, if one of these companies comes and says we want to be here, I think it's appropriate and timely for the city to say this would be our wish list. And these are our hard no's. So with that, those are kind of the challenges. Those are the opportunities. I'd stand for any questions and always look forward to this night.
Thank you. Comments and or questions? I appreciate your challenge for us to look at data centers and to look at the facts and the misinformation and to look at the potential and to look at the rules that we would want to play by. It doesn't have to be 4,000 acres. It can, you know, so as you were talking, I thought about what we all just went through with the 32 acres on the west side. And there was a group just looking at that. Nope, I don't want it. I want open space. I'm not going to listen. And it was filled with misinformation and kind of a constricted vision. And so I think this might be the same. And so there's an initial, no, not in my backyard, no data centers. But if we had some, what would we want? What would be our restrictions? And we're in a position to do that and to look at it realistically and examine it. Yes, Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Enzi. I had the opportunity to tour one of the data centers over there in Cheyenne about 6 years ago with a friend. He at the time was a recruiter, and I joined him for a year before we did the meeting, and we recruited mid-level managers for data centers around the country. So I kind of got acquainted on the different areas that were data centers and the amount of jobs that many of them create, depending on the size. And there's a lot of misconceptions, but if we want to grow our economy here and create different opportunities for jobs, I appreciate your approach where maybe we should start thinking about this is our wants. If we do this and this is feasible. And I also want to commend you for the housing. I'm glad we got the Slate School, and it's a good next step in that process with you, Mr. Feeser. That's one of his, our city manager Feeser is one of his big goals, you know, start seeing these dominoes fall on housing. So thank you.
Mayor.
Councilor Free.
It's all right if I jump in a little bit. First, I want to thank Brad for all the support he's provided us over the years that he's been here, but here more recently, I think he undersold the LCBA taking on the upper management of the Wyoming County Housing Land Trust as they stand up as a phenomenal lift and the business production that they bring in. And Brad's also taken the initiative to write the request for proposals. As you may or may not know, Basic Beginnings is closing up by the rec center. And we have city entities that are interested in that, but we also have businesses and organizations that are interested in that business. And why I chose to use Brad is to take us politically out of the decision-making process and make this hopefully more in the business business management process for us. And I can appreciate, I've got the RFP, it came in, it's in my inbox as of last week. I'm going to review that hopefully quickly this week, and then hopefully we'll get it out. But appreciate all the support that Laramie Chamber Business Alliance provides us as we continue to look at economic development. Brad also sits in a lot of our developer meetings where we're trying to find solutions to get this done. This is a real benefit.
Thank you. Councilor Freed.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks, Mr. Enzi, for all your work that you do here. And you know, one comment, I guess, to your data center point, I think, it brings about a large topic I think we'll see in this election cycle, is will data centers be in Albany County, will they be in the city of Laramie? And I think your approach of challenging us to kind of look at that, because it's coming. At least these conversations are coming. They're probably already happening with folks, not to me, but I think that's, to the mayor's point, what we saw, in 32 acres that may or may not be developed potentially. I think that the lesson that I've taken away is, let's start having those conversations like you pointed out, and get out there early and often and meet with the citizens of our communities and have an idea of what we want to ask for, because I think that's fantastic. But can they provide off-grid power that if this boom of data centers ends at some point, 10 years, 15 years, do we get to keep that infrastructure if they're no longer using it and add to our availability? I think there's ways that communities, I'm sure you're clued into this way more than I am, that are finding ways to, if they're coming, how do we negotiate? It's not just a one-size-fits-all type thing. And second, that's my comment. And my question is, what does $10,000 2 years really? How does that help you? And I appreciate that it went from 100,000 to 10, because you're finding ways to generate other income and use your dollars. But is that enough to say that? How does that $10,000 help LCBA grow, and is that what you need?
Mayor, Counselor, I think in the world of economic development, and this is a little bit of a philosophical answer to a very straight up question, is you can get it like the world is, who has the most money and how do you deploy it efficiently? Could you always use more money? Yeah, but I think it's using the effective tools and partnerships that we have with the city and figuring out, all the dollars don't have to hang with one place. And I think that's what gets lost sometimes in economic development. It becomes, if you look at kind of the state dialogue, it becomes this, we want to be the one entity that all the money flows through, instead of going, what's the most smartest and most efficient way for us to have to have dollars available? One that comes up a lot around the state is, every community that we've talked to, as we've kind of worked through regional meetings with WHAM and WEDA, every single community, you say, what's your biggest challenge? It's water and housing.
Yeah.
Not one community. Doesn't matter if that's Torrington, which issues 5 housing permits a year, or Cheyenne, which is in the 200 to 300 range, or Laramie, which has historically been at 62 housing permits. It's housing and water, right? So what's the smartest way to deploy capital to get it to the place it needs to be deployed quickest? And so by giving us $10,000, it has the membership, the partnership, and it's there and it's noted. But that allows a larger dollar volume to stay in the actual coffers of the city to be deployed as problems change. Because it's not always going to be a business problem. It might be an infrastructure problem. It might be and by kind of hearing the council and ripping those dollars down to what I think is an appropriate manageable level, it allows us to keep dollars in a way that in a means that's more easily deployable. That allows our organization to be nimble with what we do have. Could you always use more money? Yeah, I would be shot in the whole economic development community nationally and probably internationally if I said, no, we would never want more money. But are there other dollars and pockets of dollars there that we can partner with and deploy effectively, i.e. the Slade School project, i.e. different infrastructure extensions, leaving a larger dollar volume at the city so that we can be more nimble when a developer comes in and says, hey, I'd like to do this, but maybe I need to have 500 feet of sidewalk or, an extra 200 feet of street. Like, wouldn't we rather have those dollars in a functional place where they can work? That's not me saying, okay. Yeah, I think that would be my more philosophical answer to a simple, yeah, we'd always love more money, but I don't believe that it's necessarily the most appropriate form or function in the relationship. So yeah.
I really appreciate the model that rather than us doling out money and just being a contributor, we are a member, and we are a member with all the other top tier members, and it gives us a seat at the table. And we're seen not as doling out, but rather as being in partnership and having our top tier dues. And I think the other thing I just want to comment on is when I first got on council, I'm a nurse, psych nurse, so I'm interested in social justice and well-being and all that kind of stuff. And when I got elected mayor, one of the first things that Brian Harrington said to me, now you're going to have to work on economic development. And it's been Todd Heiser, Brad Enzi, Fred Schmeckel, and Derek Teedy that have been my mentors and have helped me learn about planning and economic development. And it's been a privilege to be the liaison to the Laramie Chamber of Business Alliance. And I'm so enthused by it. I got caught up in the enthusiasm of the membership drive, and I am now a member of the chamber, a proud member. And so I appreciate, thank you for all you've taught me. Thank you for the time you spend with me. I tell Todd, sometimes I feel like I'm in graduate school, because I'm learning so much, and it's been remarkable, kind of and expansive. So I like it. It's good partnership.
Thank you. Pleasure's mine. I mean, this is fun stuff.
Yeah, it is.
When you look at economies and economic development and really, the business health and vitality of your community, we're lucky, right? A lot of towns, they say, oh, we don't have a workforce. We don't have a high unemployment rate, but show me where else you're going to have 1,350 graduates come out of one of the most respected, I won't even say one of the most respected trade school in the country. And, roughly 3,000 graduates come out with, advanced degrees through the university. And then we have kids, one of the ones I always like to brag on that's kind of a dark horse hidden secret, but because of my son, I know about it, is that I just found out from one of the kids last night. So we have this Pro Start program, right? The Pro Start, you can essentially get most of your associate's degree in the culinary arts in our high school here in town. This year we took, I think, 4 or 5 teams to nationals, and the culinary arts team placed 14th in the nation, and there's like 100. It's not like 14th out of 50. But we have these programs that are preparing kids for the workforce effectively, in the high school. Callie Ponslow runs that program. It's amazing. She has like 4 or 5 kids that are Michelin star chefs now around the country. I mean, it's really, really incredible for a thing that we have. There's just another workforce thing. So all these other towns are like, we've got all these vacant jobs and we have no bodies and we have no idea of what to do with it. And we have challenges, power, right? Housing, our infrastructure needs are never going to be but we have one of the key things is we can point to, here's where we can get bodies that are educated and ready to enter the workforce in a meaningful way. So it's an amazing thing about our community that when other people call me, they're like, what would you do? I'm like, well, I don't know. Maybe get a great big university and a trade school. But you have to solve that. That's one of the challenges that we have solved. So the other ones get to be more fun. Like housing is really, how do we have people adhere to our community? How do we give them a longer lifeline? I always thought Kate probably is going to kill me someday because I always worry about that. And I've talked to the council about it several times, the Laramie hangover. Now I got my first job in town. Now I'm 25 or 26. I'm living at one of the college housing places, and it doesn't fit with where I'm at in my professional curve, and it doesn't fit with where I thought I would be. And then you wake up and you go, and I'm moving to Denver because they're paying me $15,000 a year.
Yeah.
Now your net is you're going to lose money, but your instant is I have a place to live now. But we have to figure out, those are the challenges we get to solve for, where other communities are like, we don't even know where we're going to body. So that's fun. And it's always a fun set of problems to solve and talk about, and create hypotheses and go, what if? And one thing that's fun is we have a lot of people now who as a community are willing to sit down and dream a bit and say, what could we be? And what don't we want to be? Which is an okay thing to say too. And so, if we put that energy more to what we want to be, I've always found that to be a more effective path.
And I think you bring up a good point that we have biotech, the trade school, we have the university, then we also have the community college that has just started a manufacturing program. And so we have the potential for workforce development and to partner with high-end manufacturing to come in and to incubate and draw upon our workforce resources and build right here. Councilor Newman.
Stay out of this conversation, but now I can. But there's good points. Show me another community that has, the community college, a university, a trade school, and all three of them work together, right? And then add the high school into this. If you could find a way to keep some of those guys here, let's do that, because I think that would bring development in. But go to Biotech. Every credit at Biotech now transfers to UPenn. And so you can fast track the bachelor's degree there. You get it in 2 years now. And then the same with LCCC. You take high school credits and transfer there, right? And then the partnership with the manufacturing that LCCC does. Biotech now builds trailers, car trailers and stuff for a company, I think it's in Nebraska somewhere, right? Those are the partnerships that make this community what it is. And I think you guys know about that as well.
Any further comments or questions?
I just have one more. I feel horribly remiss that I missed LCCC. They're also integral in, you got Impact 307 and the entrepreneurial ecosystem. But LCCC has really stood up, not only in our region, in this community college district, but being the leader for kind of the touch points around the state and how we develop the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And it's everything from maker spaces to how to set up your, things that work with SBDC. And they've really stepped into this amazing kind of connector role. And Lindsay and Lindsay runs the program, and she's fantastic. And with community colleges, you have this opportunity to be more nimble. Right? The accreditation at the university and at the trade schools is much more rigid. It takes 3 or 4 years to get a new program on at the trade school side. I don't even want to guess at the university side. I know who to ask, but I'll probably get in trouble for that when I get home. There's these big timelines, but the community colleges can say you need a certificate program to make sure somebody's workplace safe. for your particular workplace, they can build that program in less than 18 months. Like have it to where it's a certificate program, and if you just need the training, they can develop the training. Rhonda Priest works in this space. Like they can develop a training for your company almost instantaneously. So you know that's another one. I feel bad that I missed, and I hope Joe doesn't get me later, but or the team anywhere in Triple C. But that's an important part of our statewide ecosystem. Every community is really working on what are our core industries. And then to Councilor Newman's comment about we wish we could get more WyoTech students to stay. Career Day was last week. It's always fascinating or week before last, always fascinating to talk to the kids after career week because it's the most highly competitive. 100 employers from around the country come in to recruit these kids. Some of them bring jets to fly these kids back out and interview at the place they'll go work. And so when we talk about getting these kids to jobs, this is cutthroat competitive. One company has, if you work for the company and you're a family member, they will pay for your education here. They're willing to come in and help with some of the dorms on this. This is highly competitive. That's the kind of graduates that you get. And it's not just WyoTech. One thing that I hear about UW graduates when they go out in the workforce and they're in California or Colorado is like they think different. They have a different mindset. And I think that's one of the cool things that happens in Laramie is you become a problem solver and you really try to get it done. But it's highly competitive, and that's going to be a pivot point here in the coming years for our community is how do we create those jobs so they want to stay. And we have some of those opportunities, but how to create the opportunity for more to stay and stick. Somebody about my second year said, why don't you have this solved, to employ all the people? And I started looking at, we've had some really, really good years, banner years in economic development, and the companies we've recruited, the companies we've helped grow in Wyoming, banner really for the entire Western US and regions. Awesome. But, if we said it was 300, just to do the ongoing year-by-year basis of graduates from UW alone, we need to increase that tenfold. Then you have to bring it up another fourfold. So we'd have to go up 14-fold just for the graduates that we generate locally. So that's kind of that moonshot jump. When we talk about numbers, we can talk about how do you create 10 spots? How do you create 15 spots? How do we create those opportunities? How do you have people work with our entrepreneurs here to get inspired and launch things, be it franchising or otherwise? And that's really, if we step into 14-fold, we don't go to 14-fold. So.
Thank you. Any further comments and questions? Thank you very much. Is there any public comment on this agenda item?
Mayor.
Seeing none, I'll return to the city manager.
This agreement you'll see on Tuesday again. So it'll be the one of the four that you'll see this on Tuesday. We appreciate everything Brad does for us and that mutual relationship a little bit. So we're excited.
Good luck with your job. Thanks,
Brad.
Yeah, good luck with it. Thank you for getting there.
I apologize. I really did. This is also what dyslexia is. 6, 8. It's all the same.
So that ends our work session. And now we'll do city council updates. Councilor Newman.
All my boards are gone, so if anybody needs me to come to Tucson, let me know.
Councilor Vito.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I got back from College Station, Texas on Friday. It was like way too hot. That humidity, my hair was like out to here literally. No, but the conference itself was great. I'm really grateful that I was able to participate in that. So thank you all again. There's some really great sessions around housing and just kind of like that town-gown relationship with regard to that. And so I was able to connect with a lot of different rural institutions, a lot of city employees from different towns, a lot of folks from the South. So that was cool. And then we had our presentation Thursday afternoon. It went really, really well. We had good attendance at our session. It was great. I mean, people were impressed. They, just learning more about Laramie and the community that we have here. They were floored that we only have one public university in the state. And they were really impressed kind of with, just the representation that we had at that conference for our town-gown chapter. Sometimes like in other cities, especially bigger communities, you won't have the mayor at your town-gown meetings, right? Things like that. So it was really cool. It was a really positive experience. And yeah, thanks again.
Thank you. Councilor Bowman.
No updates to this one, Mayor. Police advisory next week.
Okay. Vice Mayor Richardson.
I have been gone, so people have been covering for me, so I don't have any updates either, other than, I should say, I do have one in line. Main Street has held some meetings over this past week. They are embarking on the National Main Street, sent out someone to help them with some additional planning too, so that's going to coincide with the DDA planning and should be beneficial as we move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I had the Alameda County Tourism Board meeting a week ago, Monday, and it's budget time, so it was their budget session.
Okay. Councilor Free.
Thank you, Mayor. On Wednesday, May 13th, Park Streets Rec Board met, and we met in the Levante Park. I got a tour of some of the new infrastructure updates that are happening. So Director Bork and his team have been working really hard on that. Really cool. And we had a presentation from students from the Worth Initiative that helped compile data for some of the studies that the city is looking at for who uses the recreation facility, different parks, and trying to just gather data from the university perspective as opposed to regular members of the public. As part of their kind of capstone before they graduated, so that was really cool. Then on the 14th, the Ranch Advisory Commission met for a quarterly meeting, and we talked about our goals and revisiting some of the objectives, this 3-year pause from grazing lease. So really just revisiting kind of some of the top priorities, asking a lot of really good questions to the city staff who are managing this ranch so well, and got a lot of really positive feedback from Fish and Wildlife, the Conservation District, and other really active members of the community that are involved in that space, and to hopefully take what we've learned and make another either addition to the goals or come up with some goals in the next year to move through this pause in the grazing. Traffic Safety Commission was canceled on the 14th because of the City Council work session, and I missed the Railroad Depot Board meeting because of our work session on the 14th of the budget. Then the last Tuesday, I missed our City Council meeting to attend the Mountain West Trails Conference in Rock Springs for my regular job. Why that's relevant, sorry I didn't get to see you all, is that there's new studies coming out, I think through our outdoor rec office, about the economic vitality of trails. There's tons of trails in our community, and so that data and research is constantly getting more and more available and accessible, and there is just so much mental health and dollar signs associated with open space and trails. So something to keep our finger on, and now Director Bork and the city staff are already on that stuff, but it's out there. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor O'Doherty.
I went to the YDOT meeting about Grand Avenue, that they had at the rec center. It conflicted with the playwright night. But anyway, so good information about the work they're going to be doing on Grand, and it's Knife River again. And of course they have Ms. Jackson and Brian Shields, the the construction engineer was there to answer questions, and we heard from several members of the traffic commission that want to get WIDOT to slow down the roads because they've received more accidents there by Walmart. And so Ryan said he would look into the numbers. I'm pretty sure they factor that in when they design roads. But anyway, so we had some input there. And then I was wondering, Brad's still here, that I wonder if he could be, because he's on one grant, part that's going to be affected, maybe they could be a clearinghouse for some of that information that Director Sherwood was telling us about related to downtown, like things that could be done for the brand down. It's just
Actually wrote down the same thing, CBA, engaged Grand Avenue construction.
Great. And then same thought too. And then the Environmental Advisory Committee, some members are going to hear from Sierra Club on Thursday, the 4th, about a proposal like maybe we should weigh in with Rocky Mountain Power because around in the West, they're using alternative energy, but they're getting rid of it in Wyoming for Wyoming power sources. And maybe as a big consumer of power, I think if I did our online checkbook properly, that I saw over 900,000 was our power bill so far this fiscal year. If you sum up all of the Rocky Mountain Power. And so we're a consumer, and maybe we should have a letter saying, you know, we have these carbon neutrality goals, and you know, we have a franchise agreement with you here. So anyway, so they want us to consider something like that. So the Environmental Advisory Commission is going to be discussing that on Thursday. That's it for me. Thanks.
I attended the DDA for the vice mayor, but there was not a quorum. But we sat around and had great conversation, waited for about 25 minutes, and that was fun. And then on the 19th, I was invited to attend the Laramie Main Street focus group on economic development. And it was just so fun because I've been working on this economic development thing for almost 2 years, to be invited to be in the room with so many people that I've been learning and working with. Fred Schmeckel and I met with the people at the Regency Residential facility, and they are proceeding with their project toward the expansion of assisted living, which would be that mid-level care, not a nursing home, but assisted living, independent. So they had a good conversation with Trey Sherwood, who gave them some leads on grants that would be appropriate for them to apply for. It's definitely something that we need in this community. We do not have any mid-level assisted living care. And so they have asked if we will give them a letter of support for this grant. And you'll see that on Tuesday. So Friday it'll be posted and you can review it. After that meeting, LCDA had business after hours at hospice where I'm on the board, and that was good. And then I rushed out from there to see the playwright showcase, which was absolutely amazing. Will, congratulations. Yeah.
Which we could have made it.
It was just so interesting to see how fifth graders look at the world and how much they observe, and they work that in to kind of an ironic perspective in their little plays. It was great, and just the timing, everything was just super right on this year. I loved it. I can't wait to go next year.
Thank you.
then Brett Schmeckel and I, and also Brett was there. Lunch at the soup kitchen. So I'm trying to go there once a week and just kind of hang out. Then I get invited to speak on community engagement tomorrow at Leadership Laramie. And then we have the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee tomorrow evening. And then on the 28th, the Civil Service Commission will be engaged in deliberation from the 2 days of hearings that we had a couple weeks ago. So it's been a busy couple of weeks.
There, with the WAM conference next week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nancy's really been working on a lot on the WAM conference, and that is, I can't believe this, next week. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So would you like to update us?
Let's see what I'm gonna update you on. No. We are excited to have it coming next week. The welcome reception will be hosted by Laramie at the Laramie Railroad Depot. We thought that would be a great location as it's downtown, also kind of encouraging folks to venture off after the welcome reception. There's just slight nerves, so they could go out, and experience the rest of downtown after they're done. They will have hot chocolate and s'mores at the fire pit following the reception, just to encourage that foot traffic and stuff a little bit. So we're excited to kind of show what we have downtown. Then we will also have the hosting of a breakfast at the Wildcatter Suite. We haven't done that in the past. So that'll be something that we're kind of excited to also kind of showcase here for folks that have maybe not been up there before. They can kind of look out and see the whole community as they enjoy breakfast together before attending sessions that day. So for those that registered, hopefully, who you are, then, we've got you. If you haven't registered and you still want to attend, let me know. And we can see if we can still get you registered. Even if it's just for the dinner, the WAM hosts a dinner on Thursday night, which is at the KBA Center. So if you want to attend just one of the social events, you're welcome to let me know and we can see if we can still get you those. We also have a 5K promoting Pilot Hill, kind of showcase that area as well, because that's kind of unique to our community as well. So that will be at 6:30 on Thursday morning. So,
do you have a document that has the schedule of events?
I do not have their full agenda in one single document, but I can get you the link. It's available on their website under the events page.
And then maybe if we can send the link out to council.
Yeah,
you can take a look and see where you can attend. I think it'd be, if you're able to attend any part or all, it would be great for us to connect and have a presence there.
Yes, Mayor. Thank you. Nancy, do you recall, is that 5K open to the community? Can they sign up the morning of?
Yes, if they bring cash or check, then they can sign up that morning. All of the WAM participants have been encouraged to be signed ahead of time. We just can't guarantee shirts if you sign up that day. We've had to print a limited number of shirts. Some do not need to access.
And I'm just curious, who's planning to attend summer on? Oh, good.
And if you want to sit at the welcome registration table for an hour, you're welcome to do that. Just let me know, because I'm trying to coordinate that.
Very good. So that's a big event. And I don't know, I did attend the UW Art Gala and sat at the Rocky Mountain Power Cable. And part of the reason for them inviting me was for me to talk to the president of Rocky Mountain Power about what we're doing, what we need, and what type of ideas we have. And we had about a 30-40 minute intense conversation, and they are ready to meet with us to really learn more about some of these things that we heard about tonight. So we'll see. So I think it's going to be a good week. Next week is going to be busy. All right. So with that, if we can move to looking at our agenda for next week. If it's on the word, it's going to be Tuesday on the expected. Oh, I wrote on the back of it. Here we go. So is there anything on the consent agenda that you would like removed? The vice mayor and I talked about 9F to promote the Regency retirement residents, but we later thought if they get the grant, maybe we would have them come speak for 5 minutes and talk about where they're going with that.
Mayor, question if I may.
Yes.
So for 9E, that's not a presentation of the report. That's we don't have a report. That's just saying that report is completed.
Right.
Correct.
So it will not be a presentation. It's just the completed report that we've already heard about in a work session. Okay. And then any questions on the regular agenda?
Mayor, I could, on 90, it's important enough that NRPs gets created to develop a mechanism to hire a firm to deploy the monitoring well. So the monitoring well program. So you'll see that in the future also.
Thank you. Any comments, suggestions? All right. We are adjourned.
Big agenda.
Did you follow it?